Hi, my name is Ezekiel. I've been coming to Restoration Life for 6 years. I got saved when I was 9 years old at Praise Chapel, Huntington Park. My story is a little different because I grew up in a Christian home, but I also grew up in a Christian broken home. Um, not to leave all the details out, but as a kid, obviously, I think we all experienced some kind of trauma, abuse and being picked on and, all the kind of stuff. But you could say that I grew up a functioning Christian. I knew what to say, I knew what to do, I knew how to pray, and I was genuine about my salvation and what I believed in. But for a long time, up until my 30s, I was always this roller coaster of like struggling with my salvation, like who I am and all that stuff, and never really reached out to anybody for help because I thought that I could do it myself. And God can give you, forgive you and heal you, and you give and you take, and you want to give it to God, but you're so familiar with that hurt of those who hurt you, and you want to use that as a license to give yourself to feel angry and to be angry and feel resentment. I left my old church, came to this church, Restoration Life, and a great community, great church. Love this family, and I was given community. I was given opportunity, and healing, and all the good stuff that our church gives, and our pastor. But I still held on to that hurt because I wanted to be angry because I was familiar with how it felt to be angry and to be resentful and even have hate in my heart. And no one at this church hurt me, but I walked around like if everybody did hurt me. So I didn't let God heal me because I was so familiar with that pain, and it felt like, okay, it's okay. I can do both. But we know that when you have unforgiveness in your heart, that thing grows into other stuff like pride, self-pity, anger, resentment. I allowed myself to live in sin. I wasn't lied to. I knew what I was letting myself fall into witchcraft, into drugs, and all this typical stuff. It's weird because you usually hear about people who backslide, who were church kids, when they're in their 20s, and I did it in my 30s. So I was a grown man, so it's just different because you can do whatever you want, and I did. I had a moment with God, was convicted. I knew that I had to, not so much come back to church, that's a big part of it, but, like surrender myself over to God again and rededicate myself over to Him. So obviously I live next door, so it was easy to come to church. So I started coming. I wasn't so much afraid of like what people would say, but like I was just happy to be back at this table, back in my community, and be loved on, and be like, hey, we still love you, man, you're good. But that's like, okay, God, what could I do? Obviously you can't do anything for you, but how could I be of service to you, to my community, this church? And it was easy. It was like, aside from like repenting, dedicating yourself, as believers, we're called to like reach out to others and kind of proclaim who Christ is in our lives and those around us, and how you disciple, how you encourage, how you read your word, how you share, how you act. And it's like everything you do should always proclaim Christ, and everything you say. And we all do it differently. Some of us preach, some of us, do social media, some of us do videos, photography, whatever it is. But I think it always should be centered on Christ, because it always should be proclaim Christ. And I sat down and asked God, how could I do that? How could I proclaim Christ in you, or Christ in people? How could I proclaim you? And it was simple. God put it in my heart, and I prayed, God, let me meet people where they're at, and where they're at in their life, in their season, and every opportunity that I get to talk to somebody, wherever they're in their life, I proclaim Christ over them. I encourage them. I speak truth to them, and that's how I do it. That's how I feel that. That's how I know that I'm called to. And God uses me in one-on-one conversations. People that meet on the street, at church. I see a guy sitting with himself. Hey, what's up, dude? Talking to them, and I asked them, questions, and every time I always point them back to Christ. I always point to the word, to the truth. I don't let them sit in their identity and their hurt, because that's what I did. I sat in the truth of my hurt. I have a heart for for people that you could save slip between the cracks and stay there, because I was one of those guys. I was he's good. He don't need no help, and and I always carry myself that way. Like, I'm a tough guy. Like, I'm pretty strong. But being on that side of the fence, I have a heart for people that who are in the church, who serve, who come to church every Sunday, just come and leave. And I try to pick them out. And yeah, there's a world that needs to see this, but there's people in the church that need to be, that need to hear what it is to proclaim Christ and what it is to feel encouraged and in the pursuit of true freedom and true grace. And I want to see people that are in the church really like understand that God can heal you, and you don't have to sit there and live in your hurt and your pain and your trauma. I understand people that, I grew up who around imperfect people that were learning to be leaders, and they make mistakes, and unfortunately people get hurt, but you don't have to live there. It is important to me that I proclaim Christ in the world, but it's just, if not more important, to the people here in my church, my community, not just to know, but to really truly believe and to walk in that, to really understand that, we hear it preached over the pulpit, but I function like, oh yeah. But I want people to know and really experience that true freedom and to walk in that and walk in that authority that God's given you and that freedom's given you.